Hey everyone, and welcome to another Airbrush Asylum video. Today I want to unbox and do a quick little run through of this Iwata compressor, the IS975 PowerJet Pro. So let's get into it. So we'll just go ahead and open up the box. Show you what it comes with. Okay, so first comes with the instructions. We've also got some Aztec Badger and Pash adapters. We've got some of the air hoses. These are the coiled air hoses. All packaging. So this particular compressor we have decided to use now in our classes. So we've just ordered in half a dozen of these from Iwata, and we'll be running all of our classes with these now. Just get this out. Okay, so let's go take a closer look at the IS975 compressor. You can see it's in a pretty sturdy case. It's got the handle there to make it easy to carry. The unit weighs about 11.8 kilos and it has a 2-litre tank, a 1/6 horsepower motor, so nice and powerful, hence the PowerJet. And the beauty of this model, and the reason why we picked it for our students, is it's got 2 quick connects, right? So we've got the double outlets there, and the best thing about it is the dual regs. So we can have one student basically controlling the air pressure for their airbrush while the other one sets it to their desired PSI. So let's go and spin this around so we can have a look at the other side. It's also got the dual moisture traps here, which are easily accessible to drain. We've got the drainage valve, so that's just obviously just pull it out once the compressor is completely full. If you want to drain the air quickly, you just pull that lever and that will release all of the pressure in the tank. You can see the tank sitting just under there. There's also filters in the side. Very similar filters to the Iwata cleaning stations, so they just pop off. That's why they got that little access hole there, and there's one on the other side as well. And obviously your on-off switch. Now to use the connectors, they're just a sleeve, so you just pull the sleeve down and that will pop the connector barb out. Now the one thing that I don't like is the fact that they give you these coiled hoses. So what I'm going to do is I have some of our class hoses here, which is the DT110s by Iwata. They're the ones we use in our classes, and I'm going to change this over. So I'm going to put this connector, this one here, onto the 1/4" end of the DT110. Then that way that can then connect in there for our classes, and we don't have problem with these hoses tangling, especially when we've got 2 students sitting next to each other. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll swap that over and then we'll come back and turn the compressor on and do a bit of a run with an airbrush. Okay, so let's go switch this barb over to our other hose. Okay, so basically this is only finger tight. I'll probably do that for a reason, because they know that most people would switch this over, I'd imagine. So there's our connector. We're going to get some Teflon tape or plumber's tape and just wrap around that thread. I generally go around the thread about 3 times. It's probably a little bit more, but it's okay. That's just going to stop any leakages Alright, now we've got our hose here, the straight shot air hose by Iwata, and I'm just going to get that to grab first. The reason I do that by using my finger instead of using the spanners or the shifters to start with is I don't want to cross thread it. Alright, so you just got to be careful. Now let me get some of these spanners. And we're just going to go ahead and tighten up that barb. Again, not going too crazy to start with, just carefully getting it to that point. And we have that swapped over. So I'm going to go ahead now and swap over another hose doing exactly the same thing. So if you want to obviously do it yourself, either rewind the video or whatever, I'll swap that over and then I'll come back, hook up 2 airbrushes, and we'll do some painting with it. Okay, now that we've swapped over the barbs on both of these air hoses, I'm just going to go ahead and hook up a couple of airbrushes. So the first airbrush is just the Iwata HPC S Eclipse. So this runs a 0.35 needle. Now this is just your generic, obviously it's an Iwata hose, so this just screws straight onto the bottom of the Iwata airbrush. You'll find a lot of hoses, even different brands, will have the generic Iwata fitting. Okay, so that's the 1/4 fitting, this is a 1/8. Okay, so that's the Eclipse hooked up. And I'm also going to hook up a CMC Plus Micron. So let's just go ahead and do that. Again, just turning that on carefully. And there we have it. Okay, so you can notice here that both of the connectors have been hooked up here. So basically to release, you just press down. So you press the sleeve down, and then to put it back in, just press it down and it'll click once it's attached, okay? So even with air pressure, obviously that's gonna then go and sort of pop off a little bit easier, so you just gotta be wary of that, but very easy to connect, which is good, great for the students as well. All right, we do have both airbrushes hooked up. It's just the reason I've got the Micron not in shot is that you'll see, because I'm running the CMC Plus Micron, which has the MAC valve on the front, it doesn't actually sit nicely and secure in this particular airbrush holder. So it's a bit dodgy as far as leaving it in there, especially once the compressor kicks in. So be wary of that if you do have a particular airbrush with this feature on it, because there are different models that have that. Then this particular holder might not be the best bet for you. So then utilize a standard sort of clamped holder, which is what I've got the airbrush in at the moment, whereas the Eclipse sits nice and snug. Okay, so let's go turn on the compressor. I haven't touched any of the settings, so whatever it's set at, I'm going to just leave it for the moment, and I'll tell you what it is going up to. So you can hear it's not overly noisy, doesn't make a lot of movement, which is good. So it's not like it's shaking the bench or anything like that. So we're just going to let that build up the pressure, and once the pressure is fully built up like that, it's going to stop. Okay, so let me just show you guys what the settings are at the moment. Okay, so you can see now, looking down on the regulators, that both are set at about, I'd say, 22 psi. I'm just looking at it upside down. So let's leave the Micron, which is this particular one, we'll leave that at 22, but let's turn the pressure up on the Eclipse. And again, it's hard for me to see exactly what I'm going to, but I'm presuming that's about 30 there. So all I did to adjust the pressure, let me just go on the side here to show you, is you'll see now I can press that down, that locks it in. So to adjust the pressure, just lift the actual regulator, twist it. So you can see here clockwise is to turn the pressure up. So you can see there that, hang on, got the airbrush in the way. So clockwise turns the pressure up, as you can see, or we can drop the pressure down by going anti-clockwise. Let's go back to the 3, which should be 30. It's actually 40. Okay, so 3 bar there, which will be 40. Okay, so let's lock that in. So again, press down, and that will lock it into place. This one I haven't touched, so we're going to leave that as it is. Now, before we do our little airbrush test, this compressor says that the operating pressure can go up to 60 psi, so that will cater for an LPH 50 or an RG3 in the Iwata range in the mini spray guns. So that's something to keep in mind. You would need some different adapters, but that will run that particular thing. I don't know if I'd be saying that it's going to run the spray gun as well as the airbrush at the same time, but certainly if you just hooked up the spray gun, that's fine. If you're, like I said, airbrushing with 2 airbrushes at the same time, then this compressor is definitely the one to go for. And let's show you why. And obviously it's going to show you that it can keep up with the air pressure. So I'm looking at the dials at the moment, and they are staying exactly where they are with both of these airbrushes just pumping out air. So I'm just simulating if 2 of our students, for example, or 2 people were airbrushing at the same time, you know, depressing the air on at its full capacity. You can hear it's obviously catching up to fill the tank. Okay, so it is looking like it's not going to shut off. So unlike something like the IS976MB, the one in the case, and the IS1000, that will actually, if you run both of them at the same time, the compressor has enough power to actually catch up and it would shut itself off again. In this case, I would have to back off with one of the airbrushes, so let's back off with the smaller one. So just stopped with the micron. See if it catches up with the eclipse now. I may need to stop totally with... Okay, so now I've shut both airbrushes off, and that will then pump back up the tank. Perfect, now it's stopped. So it hasn't dropped at all in pressure when airbrushing with both. However, it hasn't got the power to pump that tank back up to its full capacity. It's basically got enough power so that you're not going to lose any power while you're airbrushing, which is great. So both people can airbrush comfortably, but it's not going to shut itself off. All right, so that's something to keep in mind if that's going to bother you for whatever reason. All right, so now that we are ready to do a bit of a test, we've tested both of them. I'm just going to show you how nicely it flows. So utilising the Eclipse, we've got some water-based paint in the airbrush. You can see we're not getting any dotted lines. So a lot of people, you know, they'll get a smaller compressor thinking, oh, it's so good, it's compact, but especially a diaphragm compressor is a problem. The reason being is what diaphragm compressors do is that they pulsate the air, okay? So to fill up their tank, or a lot of the time they don't have a tank at all, so just to run the compressor, it basically pulsates, and there's even some smaller motor compressors that sort of operate almost like a fish tank motor, which it's just not going to give you a perfect, nice, smooth line. So keep that in mind. That's the beauty of the Iwata compressors. They are basically set up for it, obviously. So, you know, you get your moisture trap built in. In this case, you've got dual moisture traps, which is great. You've also got the little holder, which is handy for all the airbrushes without the MAC valve. And it also will give you a consistent paint flow. They're oil-free and basically maintenance-free. So that's pretty much it. Apart from that, the last specs that I could let you know are the dimensions. So, as I mentioned earlier, they are 11.8 kilos, operating pressure 1 to 60 psi. The CFM is 1.2 CFM at open flow. It's a 1/6 horsepower, and the actual size of the unit is 33 by 23 by 18 centimeters. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you a little bit more of an insight on the IS975 PowerJet Pro. I will have links in the description so that you can either take a look at the specs, or if you want to purchase one, you can feel free to jump on our link on our website. I'll put a direct link there to the item. So that services all of Australia wide. I'll also link up to this item in our Amazon influencer page, so you can buy it through there and we'll receive a small affiliate commission. I'll also link up the hoses and the airbrushes used. Unfortunately, the Trident paint I can't, because that's not on Amazon at present. That said, I can link up a similar water-based paint that I recommend, which will be the Createx illustration colors. Alright, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, if you haven't already, feel free to hit subscribe and we will catch up with you soon. Bye for now.